I am a little bit late to this trend, but this was a deck I really wanted to visit at some point, and with the rise of wall decks such as Frogadier and Milotic appearing in the Japanese City League or Japanese Champions League, I do think it's a good time to be playing a Froslass in our deck. And Froslass is really good since a lot of those Pokemon rely on abilities to basically get past everything. And so what you can do is put a bunch of damage on all those Pokemon, and then use TM Devolution on them, and basically pop them for free. So it becomes really easy to manage those matchups. And I think the deck is falling a little bit more in favor, especially as, we also had Maridon win Merida. So I think this deck is really well positioned right now, and I want to take advantage of it. It plays a very heavy supporter engine with the Arven and the Irida to make sure you always get your Precious Trolley, and then from there it just kind of tries to use Shinobi Blade in order to continue pulling up your combos and stuff like that. The only thing I'm not quite sure about this deck list is the Colress in here, only because it only grabs you double turbo energy, or technically a basic water energy. I do think you could maybe make a case for Calamitous Mountain. It's the stadium that says if you attach a water energy from your hand, or if you attach a non-water energy to your hand, that Pokemon takes 20 damage, which can, possibly bump up the damage on the opposing Pokemon on the field. So I think that's possibly something to merit on. But other than that, the decklist is just super concise. I think it works really well with the metagame trends that are coming up. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoy the games, and I'll be seeing you. Alrighty, game started. I do think it's very funny because this was actually intended to be yesterday's upload. But what happened yesterday is as I was out running all my errands throughout the day and playing tournaments or getting ready to run commentary for Saturday, what ended up happening was I saw Tor post the video, or not the video, but the picture of the Pikachu in the Noctowl, and that he was going to be in top 16. I was like, there's no way I don't get the Raikou video out today, right? And I did. And now that video is one of the fastest growing videos on my channel, so that's a huge plus. So we're playing the Greninja now. I technically did the Greninja video and the Raikou video all the same day that I recorded the Charizard footage. But yeah, it's cool that I got around to this deck, especially because I really like Greninja. I'm a big Greninja head, seeing this is one of my most played decks of all time. And right now, I'm very concerned because my opponent is playing Terrapagos. And I know I mentioned this in a previous video, but I have to be way more concerned about not, benching more Pokemon turn 1. I'm setting on the Froakie in my hand, right? If I lose the fucking Petra Brute Bonnet, this is entirely my fault, and it was super preventable. Thankfully, I got better at this habit in person on Saturday when I was actually playing, because it allowed me to be I don't think any of these people are playing Petra, but I was way more aware of that, so that's nice. I really don't have too much else going on in my hand right now, and so I'm just going to go ahead, use my Rescue Board to get out, and set my Precious Trolley, and basically just grab everything. I'd rather not bench the Froakie in my hand, because pulling out the Froakie out of the deck, it just increases my draws slightly more. I don't want a Precious Trolley, and then draw into a Froakie next turn, or off this Iono, for example, right? So it just made a lot of sense to me to pull it out of the deck, and I think it's a bit, a good call. My opponent is going to go ahead and be able to get this attack off, which is, whatever, right? They were item blocked, but because Terrapagos is a normal type, and Greninja is a fighting type, I am looking pretty good here, as now I have to decide whether or not I want to use Arven or Iono. Iono could maybe sack me into the, into the water energies, but I decided to just take the safe route and grab 2 energies here. We can also grab the Team Devo because it's essentially going to be worthless against my opponent's deck, unless they are playing some weird stuff. And then we can just use Shinobi Blade to grab something else. The Irida gives me the option of possibly pulling out a Frostlass next turn, and then also an Ultra Ball, which could get me another Frostlass. I could also alternatively just get a Frogadier and slow evolve my Froakie on the bench to give me the possibility of setting up another Greninja, because I actually don't think the Frostlasses are extremely relevant in this matchup, especially as he's setting up a Lucky Dory. But, I look at the prize mapping right now, and I don't think there's a big chance that I'm going to be able to watch out everything. I mean, that's not true because his main attacker is the Terrapagos. So I do have to knock out another Terrapagos, and then he has the Oranguru available. So, yeah, there is that, I suppose. He is going to take the knockout against my Snorunt, which is kind of like, okay, whatever. And it does, like, leave the Pachora up, but in my head it's like, you know, who cares? I've also considered about, like, boss ordering up the Arengri here, which can just net me 2 prizes, which would also be pretty good. But I kind of want to prioritize establishing my field, because he does not have a way of actually addressing with Greninja currently, even with like everything else he has available to him. So I think I just want to take the time to start setting up more of my field. And the Frostlass could definitely put a bunch of pressure onto his backline, while also allowing me to still take 2 prizes. So even though I didn't get the Frogadier set up this turn, or even the Greninja, I do think this play is ultimately fine, because it still nets me 2 prizes, and it caps my opponent's, like, you know, engine currently. It'll also let me one-shot the Squawkabilly, which is available, and just put even more pressure on everything. Hell, there's even a chance I can knock Latios out. So really, my opponent's just stuck in a gap here where they have no outs available to them. With the only thing that can maybe save them is a TM Devolution, but I am saying on a Rare Candy, so, you know, that's at least a plus. They do, like, reveal the cloth here, but, you know, at this point, it's a little too late. That said, there was a chance that, like, with a Radiant Sneasler, Blood Moon, plus Body Mochi could kill me. I don't think it's something I considered, but with no Terra Pokemon in play, they just can't do anything. And now they're bench locked for the majority of the game, unless if I choose to only knock out Cloth, and then they could bench a Terra, and then, you know, Area Zero, a bunch of stuff. So, really just not a great position on my opponent's end, as I'm just going to go ahead and boss and end the game here, taking out the Blood Moon, and swing for Shinobi for knockout. Woo. I wish I, what's it called? I wish I played this segment earlier, because I think, like, what was it? I think it just wasn't really uploading that much at the time, or I was, like, uploading very specific things, and so by the time that this deck popped up, I was just like, okay, well, I don't need to play it, or I had just uploaded my own Greninja Decklist, and I was like, yeah, this one's better, whatever, so that's how we got there. And my opponent is putting down a Mimikyu in the active, so my first thought is that this is probably Feraligatr, but no, it actually turns out to be Gardevoir, which is kind of tricky. I don't really like fighting Gardevoir with this deck, because the Gardevoir EX itself can just one-shot my Greninja EX, which is really bad. But with the Frostlasses, it actually kind of makes this matchup a little bit more doable, as I'm able to, you know, just simply chip them down with the Frostlasses on their Curlias, and then maybe devolve them later. Which is not an out that I have in my regular Greninja deck. I'm just gonna go ahead and pursue the item block here. No reason, you know, go try bouncing or whatever. And you know, the nice part about the Budew and the Frostlass is that it's just going to continue racking up damage on the opponent's side of the field, so they have to respond to this quickly. It's not like extremely passive, and they also throw the Manaphy away, which shocks me a lot. But I guess they just really need every other card in their hand, which kind of weird, but okay. And now I am really close to just setting up like a Greninja snipe here. I am still missing like the Greninja EX, which is probably the worst part, or the worst card to grab here, because I have to commit like an Ultra Ball to grab it. But I am saying the DTE, which is the hardest deck to find in the deck, so there's always a possibility. Also want to mention earlier, when I used Earthen Vessel, I chose only to grab one Water Energy, because I don't know how many of those energies I'm going to ultimately need, and so I figured, I don't want to discard anymore, so I'd rather just go ahead and get rid of the extra, or I wouldn't want to get rid of the extra energy. And because of that, you know, I'm also going to feel safe tossing my Super on. I don't really think this is going to be a matchup where I have to, like, keep recycling my dudes, as they're already pretty far behind in terms of setup, with only one Curlia in play and a Mimikyu that's about to go down, while still being under item block. You know, the most that they could do is, like, refinement a Psychic Energy away, and then maybe start attacking with the Mimikyu, but they're gonna have to put damage on it anyway, so it's like, it's just super rough. And by the time I Devo them, I should hopefully have their, like, entire board state on lockdown. I'll leave them without any options to, like, really come back from there. Which is, you know, a big plus side about this deck, because if Gardevoir is a deck that continues to become more popular, or, you know, it really excels in this metagame, then we do have that to look forward to. Anyways, they're doing the Gardevoir thing that I thought they weren't going to do, but, you know, it is what it is. They were able to attach a regular energy from their hand, which means that they won't die yet, but they're going to die soon. And this is kind of neat because it's going to allow me to just go ahead and evolve into Greninja here, and then go ahead and snipe the two Curlies and the Ralts on the back line. And this is going to just completely shut them down. Also go ahead and just snag the Budew back up, because there's a chance I might want to reestablish the item lock. And I really don't need to set up like anything else specifically. So I'm just going to go ahead and, you know, grab even more pieces. Grab the Rare Candy in case they try and evolve me. Grab the Frostlass and keep going. And then we are just, you know, good to take out the Ralts and the Curly on the back line. Completely shutting down their engine after they've been item locked the whole game. And then we'll even take even more prizes after the Frostlass does its work against the Mimikyu here. One of the things I mentioned, or one of the things that I noticed this weekend, is that the Cornerstone like Noivern Milotic matchup is really rough, and I think Milotic's only going to become more popular, especially because Milotic technically did just win Fuecoco with the Frogadier deck, which, you know, respectable tech. I thought it was pretty good to throw in. And you definitely need a way around it. So, you know, having those tools definitely helps a lot. And I'm not quite sure how this deck handles, like, Frogadier in general, but at least you don't straight up lose to, like, Milotic, for example, which is, I think, the best part about it. I am saying on my TM Devolution right here, as the opponent uses Arven, so if they don't grab the Unfair Stamp, which they don't grab, they grab a Hero's Cape instead, then I am just in a good position to rock their world. As we don't have a whole lot more to talk about in this matchup, really. I mean, they finally got the Manaphy down, which protects them from that, and they have the Hero's Cape on the Gardevoir, so they're really going to be trying to solo the game here, but they're going to have to put 60 damage on this guy, and alongside two Gardevoir takes, like, they really just don't have a whole lot going for them. So now is my time to just send in the Budew, because it can retreat for free, but I think I'm going to head into the Frogadier, and throw that in there, just because it makes it like way harder for them to actually retaliate against this. I can go ahead and grab the Pokégear or the Night Stretcher, whatever, you know. Like I said, at this point, it doesn't really matter what's left, and I could just go ahead and maybe reestablish a Frostlass. But I'm just going to go ahead and go Frogadier because it gives us less prizes and forces them to work harder, and devolve the Corellia. And we are going to go ahead and take the knockout, even with the Hero's Cape aside. I did consider, actually I couldn't consider. I was going to say, it was like, oh, I should have counter-captured Manaphy, but that's not how the game works. Oops. But yeah, we got two more games coming up. What else is next? What else is kind of interesting? I remember looking at like the top 16 decks from Fuecoco just like a minute ago when I was responding to a reply. I saw there was a Flareon deck in there that was kind of cool, and then I think I saw Goldango. So there's definitely like some spice, and I do wonder like what types of changes that we might see in our standard metagame come from those decks, because I really think that like the post-rotation metagame is really not that different from ours, besides losing the V matchups. But like you really can't do much about a lot of the V matchups. Like Drago, sure, you still have to run your Manaphy or whatever. And then with like Palkia, like sure, Palkia is okay, but Palkia is not like defining the metagame. And then Lugia, you just like run Temple Sinnoh if you can. You can't really do much against that deck if it goes super hard. So really, like our metagame's super close. Outside of the fact that we don't have Manaphy in the game, so I'm really interested in seeing if any of those decks cross over into our standard metagame. Especially because we didn't see a lot of stuff like Zoroark, for example. The only kind of other deck that we saw was, well, one, the Zoroark, but we also saw the Lily's Clefairy, which if you're interested in Toward Rec Club's deck, you go ahead and check out my video yesterday. I basically made that deck, but replaced it with a, what's it called? I'm being stupid again. I replaced it with a Raikou, which seemed to work out just fine. You might think that me swapping out into the Budew is kind of a weird choice, but the reason I'm doing this is because I feel like gutting the opponent's support and not letting them set up for even more value is really good. Because if I end up just killing the Eevee and then they can't, like, you know, Nest Ball or Terra Orb or do anything else to get another Pokemon in play, then I'm going to have a really good time with this Greninja. And so there's no reason for me to give my opponent the opportunity to actually put more Pokemon down if I can close out the game this way. Or that's at least how I feel, as, you know, they could go ahead and attach a Grass Energy and just knock it out. So, you know, kind of what I was going for if my opponent had, like, you know, just Buddy Poffin, Nest Balls, you know, any of that stuff. They could have gotten out of the situation, but by choosing to use the Budew lock against them, I found a way to just close out the game way quicker and without the opponent having any agency over the situation, which I thought was smart. I thought it was cute. Listen, they were playing Lady, so there was a decent chance that they're kind of just breaking up. Also, can I just say, my mulligan rate for this Precious Trolley is quite impressive. I don't think I've ever seen anyone hit Precious Trolley as much as I have. Just like I haven't seen anyone slow roll the hell out of my opponent on the Pokemon Select as I have. I swear, I'm like the slowest at this. I believe I was still in the game corner trying to get coins for Dratini, so oops, my bad. But yeah, they have a bunch of Terra stuff. So, and then they reveal, like, Venonat, my day is rude. But this is kind of a funny matchup that I commentate over because we're both doing the same thing. Like, I'm way less committal to the item lock, but we're both, like, we're both Frostlass decks, which is really funny. Because it kind of means that, like, the Frostlass isn't going to have any sort of relevance. That said, I do know my opponent plays Munkidori, which is why I actually end up, like, setting up my Frostlasses. Because, one, they're not affected by Frostlass, of course, but I'm figuring, like, oh, wait, hold on, if I can just, like, get my stuff going quicker, then this is going to be good for me. I'm going to go ahead and put the Rescue Board onto the Froakie there. Ultimately, you really want it on, like, a Frostlass most of the time, or just to save it. But I figured, like, preserving the energy is really nice, because then I can start splitting my energies around, just in case it becomes relevant. And getting the first item lock of the game is really going to put a damper on my opponent, because the fact that I got Precious Trolley is really, really good. And now, if I manage to hit, like, my double turbo energy, which wow, oh wow, the Colress grabs it for me. The card is slandered on at the beginning and it got it for me. You know, I can go ahead and knock out both the Venonats at once, which is basically just game ending. I can even set the Frostlasses so if they have Munkidoris, then like they're gonna be taking way too much damage, and then I'm just gonna go ahead and end the game here on the Venonats as they're likely to concede. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and yeah, like, subscribe, all that stuff.